Great. Okay, Mary Hunt here at Water, and I'm going to get us started. It is Monday, November the 4th in the US, and in Australia, it is Tuesday, November the 5th of 2024. It is 7:30 in the evening here on the East Coast where we're originating this event, and I am delighted that on the eve of the US presidential election, we are together. I am deeply grateful to I'm deeply grateful that our dear friend Rosemary Ganley, known to some friends and admirers as RBG, will lead us tonight. I'm joined by my water colleagues, Magdalena Müller. Where are you, Magdalena? There you are. From the Thuringia region of central Germany, and Wed Naji from Bonn. Where's Wed? There she is. Um, they are with us as members of the Brethren Voluntary Service Program in the US and the Irani Peace Group in Germany. They will be with us for the full year. They've had a whirlwind first month. It's almost unbelievable to say that they've only been here a month. It feels like I've known them forever and that they've been here for years. But they have had a whirlwind, including 5 days in Minneapolis, St. Paul, with Mary's Pence at the grantees meeting. And Water, as a very appreciative grantee of Mary's Pence, was able to send not only Diane New, but also our two new interns in their first month in the US. In fact, their first 2 weeks, they went out to spend 5 days in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And that was really, wasn't it quite an experience for which we are delighted and grateful to Mary's Pence. They've also had their first American Halloween, their first American White House garden tour. They've met water friends from various and sundry places like Iceland and so forth. They've been to Howard University for the reading of a play on slavery. Cheryl was there for that at Howard University with a friend of ours, Carol Olivia Herone, about the slave ancestors that she is now bringing back alive into her life. And they've already made themselves indispensable at the office in terms of technology and all the things that people who are their age and stage can do that those of us who are not their age and stage can't do. So we love this intergenerational part of Water, and so grateful to have them, and invite you to consult with them if there are things that you need. We've had someone in the office the other day who needed to know how to get on her Lyft app, and they were right there on the spot. And Wed is in the midst of the fourth rung of Dante's apple hell, trying to figure out a problem for us. So, yes, welcome, welcome. So, last month, Jean Christensen, who's with us of the Mercy community, Jean Christensen, where are you? Might want to wave your hand there. Yep. Led our group on decisions, and you can access it on our website at womensalliance.org, the programs for October, the water meditation, and that'll all be in the notes. Wonderful program, wonderful, insightful, and provocative approach to decision making. And we will, I invite you to use that, and also to listen to the video, to watch the video. And we'll have the same thing tonight. We'll have a video of this and Rosemary's notes that will be on our website in the next couple of days. So you can always go back to and use these programs again. And people do, and it's enormously helpful. So Jean Christensen, one more time, thank you to you. Tonight, let me begin with the land acknowledgement, as we always do, and especially this being American Indian Heritage Month. I'm especially grateful to President Biden for offering us a sincere apology on the part of the U.S. government to our Native American kin whose relatives were exploited in boarding schools. So that's a real good thing done recently, at a time when not a lot of good things are going on. We at Water are on Indigenous land in Silver Spring, Maryland. It's the traditional and contemporary land of the Piscataway and Anacostan peoples. We acknowledge the trauma and injustice toward Indigenous people and other people of color that is so deep in U.S. culture and history. We join in efforts to eradicate this and to make reparations for the genocide involved. Water's work is aimed to bring about social justice. Consider the Native people on whose land you sit. Feel free to put their names in the chat if you wish. Feel free to say their names. Let us take just a moment of quiet. Thank you. Again, it's an auspicious evening. As you know, it's the eve of the U.S. elections, and anybody who tells you what's going to happen tomorrow probably also has that bridge in Brooklyn that they're willing to sell at a very cheap price tonight. I don't think anybody knows, and we might not know at this time tomorrow, but what we do know is that being together and taking time for the kind of contemplative silence that we will share shortly after hearing some words of wisdom is a tried and true way of moving through even the most difficult times. So how this works, our presenter will offer something brief, usually 7 to 8 minutes, that will spark our contemplation. I'll thank the speaker, and then I'll ring the gong, and let's test the gong to make sure we can all hear the gong. Everybody hear it?
Yes.
After the gong, we'll spend 22 minutes thereabouts in silence together. It's enough time to get into a meditative state. You'll feel free then to turn off your camera, and there'll be a visual on the screen if you'd like something to look at while you meditate. And Rosemary has prepared some very helpful questions for our use as well. Those will be both on the screen at the beginning of the period of silence and also in the chat during. So you can refer to those if you want, or you can just go where you go. After that time, we'll open the floor for conversation. I'll give further instructions about how to join the conversation. And then, as I noted earlier, we will send out a link to the video and also to the written materials, and you'll have this to review and to share with others. There are many styles of meditation, and you know best what gets you into contemplative space, whether it's breathing and attention to your breathing, whether it's a word or a phrase acting as a mantra. Do what works for you. This is not a prescriptive kind of meditation, although there are those. And then the key word for us at least, is that what we're trying to do is to do it together. That any of us would be capable of keeping silent alone, but being silent together and allowing the energies that emerge from that to enrich us is what we're about tonight. And Nancy Sylvester, who pioneered this approach in our circles, in her Communal Contemplation and Dialogue work, was with us a couple of weeks ago. And again, if you go on our website, you can listen to Nancy talk about her new book, Journey Faith in an Entangled World. And it was a wonderful water talk, and will give you even more insight into her approach to this form of meditation. So I invite you now to just mute yourself on this, and make sure that you're, and our folks, Magdalena and Wed, who are doing the tech stuff, can mute you if you don't do it, so that we have a nice clear line to hear what Rosemary has to say, and then for our meditation. Let me introduce Rosemary B. Ganley. I've done this many times as she so generously shares her talents with us, so I will not belabor her biography. You can read it in any of the earlier presentations that I've made. But let me simply say that the short story is that she's a writer and an activist in Peterborough, Ontario. Rosemary has a regular column in that community's newspaper. I look forward to each incisive, humorous, always well-written article as soon as they come out. She gathers them and she puts them into volumes that make for wonderful reading. I recommend them very highly. Rosemary is a teacher and an activist as well as a writer. She spent years with her husband John and their sons in Jamaica and Tanzania as part of Canada's Good Work in the World. They worked on human development, and they continued their solidarity work all of their lives. Rosemary was an editor of the Catholic New Times, a progressive publication, something like the National Catholic Reporter, but different. Did Mary not really say better? Oh, gosh. Scratch that. Rosemary's activism knows no bounds. Last month, she spent 2 weeks in Rome demonstrating, meeting people, stirring up good trouble on issues related to women and other marginalized people alongside the Synod on Synodality. While I'm sure it felt like an exercise in frustration at times, I know that Rosemary's presence was felt. The Washington Post, of blessed memory, because of their failure to endorse a candidate for the first time in decades, the Washington Post of blessed memory featured a picture of Rosemary with other pro-women's ordination folks with their soup cans. They were kicking the can down the road, and Rosemary is standing behind the letter M as they say ordain women. It was great. They were protesting the Vatican's effectiveness at kicking that can down the road for, yes, millennia. Really remarkable. Next month, she'll be inducted into the Order of Canada, a huge honor. That's on the 12th of December in Ottawa. We're just grateful that she is following the U.S. elections this month with great interest, and look forward, Rosemary, to your taking the long view tonight. Welcome. Please share your wisdom, and let me say on behalf of all of us, thank you, thank you, thank you. Rosemary B. Ganley.
Good evening, everyone. I feel like I'm in a terrific sisterhood, and that's been enriched my life. And now it's taken on international dimensions. I'm privileged tonight because it's a very fraught time. It's as if we are living in these times. We've been given these times to examine the depths of evil. I read today that 70% of Americans are deeply concerned. And I would say the same percentage of Canadians. But we need to see the world clearly in its darkness, for we are sincere and progressive people. Over 40% of fellow citizens have become cultic. And just a dark little joke here, that one of the jobs of the future is going to be in cultic recovery, counseling the recovery of cultists. We have seen the rise of an evil man and his powers of persuasion over so many people. The righteous suffer, the iniquitous prosper. There's a potential for violence. There's a strong man backed by oligarchs. There's a possible delay of results, doom scrolling, and disgust in our hearts for Trump supporters. That's what we're going to dig away at. The other alternative for president is a decent person who will inherit a fractured society. But this outcome, her election, is devoutly to be wished. We will feel joy and relief and a new awareness of what it takes to make a healthy society. It cannot have deep inequalities. But these times are very strenuous, particularly tonight, for our imaginations. We have to hold two possible outcomes in our hearts. I am touched that you will spend time here this evening in that unique situation. It's much like waiting for a personal biopsy to get back. But all of this anxiety, St. Ignatius wrote, is not coming from a good place. And so we seek to recover the good place through this meditation. Jesus spoke of fear in the Gospels 40 times, some researchers say, and in the Hebrew scripture 100 times. Fear not. It was even counted up to be more often than love was mentioned. The second thing, I think, in addition to absorbing the spirit of the times with an honesty and a bravery, is to remember models of mystics and ordinary people in hard times. Often discussions like this turn to Julian of Norwich, the 14th century English woman. She lived in a time of bubonic plague, 100-year war between England and France, and 3 popes excommunicating each other. But Julian was gifted to say, he did not say you would not be perturbed, you will not be troubled. He said, you shall not be overcome. And then she said famously, all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. My second example from history is to recall the 1940s bombing of Britain. Nightly raids, rushes to bomb shelters, rationing of food, news of casualties, loved ones dying and missing. And to bring us to today's world, most clearly, the present wars. I went in my town, there's a university called Trent, and the Trent students had a rally in support of Gaza. And I learned this word, it was new to me, scholasticide. The bombing that took place of 16 universities and colleges within Gaza. It's as if thought itself is under assault. So we must keep thinking. In Gaza, the constant uprooting and fleeing, the living in rubble, the shortage of medical care, food, and water. Gaza has the largest number of child amputees in the world. The third major point I'll make is we seek connection. We see it in these faces. There's 31 faces among us. I'm going to spend election night in my little city, downtown at a pub with Democrats abroad. One of those women, they live in Peterborough. I didn't know they were Americans. They're Trent professors, Unitarian members. And one said to me, I haven't voted since 1972. I voted for McGovern. But if you like to get news by yourself, plan some activities and comfort food and music. Maybe write the candidate. In fact, I would recommend write the candidate, Kamala Harris, and thank her for this brave, joyous trip she's been on. The warrior, the joyful warrior. It certainly appealed to me. And the fourth is silence, which we will practice this evening. Rumi, the Arab poet, said, let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pulse of what you really love. It will not lead you astray. In the silence, there is sacred mystery, a path that shows you the way, not with words, but with the heart's yearning. And Thich Nhat Hanh said, one day I stopped, listened, and heard the most beautiful sound, my own soul. Peace is all around us and within us. Once we learn to touch this peace, we will be healed and transformed. It's not a matter of faith, it's a matter of practice. And then finally, reading. We need to fast and discern what we will and won't read and watch. In the 50s, my own father said, it was before social media. He said to us, those who get their news from newspapers are less anxious than those who get it on TV. I like the Atlantic Monthly. I like especially their issue where the editor gave 27 reporters the assignment to write something critical about Mr. Trump. That was a real keeper issue. I also recommend On Consolation by the Canadian Michael Ignatieff. Profiles of writers through history who were in extremity and found consolation. Michael Ignatieff it says right up front, I'm not a believer, but he quotes Job, St. Paul, Dante, the Psalms, Camus. And occasionally I smile and laugh. I watch Stephen Colbert and I read Michael Moore. Who was it said, I'm nauseously optimistic. However you say that word, nauseous. I'm nauseously optimistic. That's a takeaway for you. Dante said, we're not born to be brutes. We're human beings created for knowledge and love and virtue. And now for meditation, which we will begin. Perhaps there's a prompt here that will be good for you. I just jotted down 3. What will you continue to do in the days ahead, no matter what the outcome? And what will you give up doing? And what might you undertake anew after this election? Amen, and so be it.
Thank you so much, Rosemary Ganley, for bringing us your insights and wisdom, taking a long view, a very long view, in fact, with some of your sources on what we're going through tonight. And I thank you for that, because I think each and every one of us will find something here that has resonated with how we are experiencing the moment. With that, the questions are up. What will you continue to do no matter the outcome? What will you give up doing? And what might you undertake anew after the election? Give us many, many hours of contemplative fodder for contemplation, shall we say. But let's take now just 20 minutes or so in silence together, and then we'll come back and have an opportunity to share. I'll ring the gong and our silence will begin. Once we move into silence, we'll have our image. If an image helps you more than questions, please feel free to enjoy that as well. Rosemary's provided it. And then, of course, there's the silence together. Again, with thanks to you, Rosemary. Thank you all for engaging in the collective silence. I think it was especially needed and powerful tonight. Let me thank Rosemary Ganley again for providing us with such rich food for our contemplation. I know I had many directions in which mine went, and I'm sure you did as well. Now is the time to open the floor and make brief comments. And please remember that we are a number of people, so keep your comments brief. The questions that Rosemary suggested, what will you continue to do no matter the outcome? What will you give up doing? And what might you undertake after the election are great questions both for now and for later. So I think we can take those down now and simply open the sharing. If you'd like to speak, you can use the reaction button down below and raise your hand, and we'll, as I've done now, I've raised my hand and it puts me up at the top of the queue, and now I'm going to lower my hand when I'm finished. Please make your comments brief, but please make them. We want to hear from as many people as we can tonight. Again, with thanks to Rosemary. The floor is open. It helps to say your name and where you're from, just to give us a sense of our many and differing perspectives. The floor is open. If you don't feel comfortable, you can always raise, with the reaction button, you can always raise your hand, and that will get attention as well. Cheryl Nichols. Be sure to unmute yourself too when it's your turn.
Yeah. I'm Cheryl, and I live just right outside of Washington, D.C. So we've been living this day in and day out, and just hundreds and hundreds of local races that have ads during the local news all through the evening. I am so grateful when tomorrow comes. But I want to thank Rosemary and all of the international community that joined with us tonight. It's just wonderful to have your support. And, we read about how our government, certainly our elections, impact the rest of the world. So I'm just so grateful to know how much you are supporting us and supporting our future. So thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Yes, Rita Mary?
It's Adrienne.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's Adrian. Okay, I
That's
saw
fine.
hands.
Both
Okay.
of us. Thank you so much, Rosemary. This was so powerful. And as we've said, our hearts have been with all of you for so long, and just understanding the pain and deep just grief that you're going through. The quote that you used from Julian is one of our favorites, but we have the continuation of it, which I find very powerful. And it's all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. For there's a force of love moving through the universe that holds us and will never let us go. And when you said, what will you continue to do? I think that's what I will continue to do, is hold that image of a force of love that will not let us go, that will see us through whatever outcome. It's not so much the outcome that's important, but it's what we bring to it and the love that we can sustain through it all. So thank you, Rosemary, for that.
Thank you, Adrian. I think you spoke for many of us in adding that piece to the quote. I also want to simply tag on to that when Rosemary said so forthrightly and courageously, frankly, and truthfully, in my view, that this time has been given to us to experience evil. Um, that has been a strong uh, and deeply disturbing part of this recent experience for me. I'm one of those people who's much more on the on the side of all shall be well, and I'm always looking at good things and good people, and there's just so much wonder and so forth that comes in our lives. And for me, the question of evil has always, I have to say, has really largely been academic. I remember taking a class, the question of evil, and I just thought, oh, and I was probably, young when I took it, so I didn't really know much, but I, I, I really have felt certain aspects of evil in this experience we've been going through in terms of the convergence of war and racism and sexism and greed and violence. That this really is what is evil, and that it's important to be able to say that and to face that, and to share with other people that that's what it is. It's not just a difference of opinion. I mean, something really terrible happens to a whole. That there's a toxicity to evil. I just have a whole new appreciation for that study of evil that I took so academically and cavalierly, frankly, from my own experience of optimism and goodness and health and community and love and all those things. So it's just been very sobering, and for you to say that, and then Adrian, for you to complete the quote really helps me too, to put it together. That the goodness does endure, that the love does endure, that the community does endure. So thank you. And let's go to Mary Bunting.
Yes, from Baltimore, Maryland. And what I will continue to do, and I think we definitely need to do, is keep praying after the election, because we want a peaceful transfer of power. And so that is a little worrisome, but I do keep saying, and all things shall be well also. And then the other thing that I'll be happy not to be doing is deleting all the hundreds, it seems like thousands of emails that come in asking for money for all the candidates. I'm sort of my fingers tired of hitting the delete button. So I will not be I'll be happy to let that go. Yeah.
Thanks so much. Many of us share your view on that. Thanks, Mary Catherine. Who'll be next? Mary Jane, hand up, and then Mary Jelinek. Mary Jane.
I have to delete myself. I not delete myself. Yeah.
You're unmuted.
Okay.
You're fine. Go ahead.
I am going to, after the election, write to Kamala. I thought that was an excellent suggestion. I'm on the opposite side of Mary Hunt. I am just so happy to see someone happy as Kamala Harris has been. She brings a smile to my face when she appears on the TV screen. She's just so enthusiastic and so energetic and so positive and so affirmative and just happy, huh? It's nice to see somebody smiling and laughing while recognizing how serious things are, huh? But she is hopeful, and she makes me hopeful. She gives me hope.
Thanks, Mary Jane. I'm not sure we're as far apart as you might think. As the interns will tell you, I came bursting into the office this morning with the Saturday Night Live
Yeah.
clip, foisting it upon them and say, "Oh, you have to watch this." I think that's one of the most hilarious things I've seen in a decade. And as I said on Saturday night, or Sunday morning by my time, anybody who has the stamina and the fortitude and the wit at that stage of the campaign to do Saturday Night Live on a Saturday night in New York is presidential timber, in my view. Absolutely. But if you haven't seen it, it's hilarious. And Anyway, be happy to send it to anybody who hasn't seen it. Okay, let's move on. Mary Jelinek, I think you're next.
Yeah, thanks, Mary, and thanks, Rosemary. As always, you've opened up so many ideas and thoughts and emotions, so thank you. I'm going to try to keep remembering in the future going forward that so much of what I read as anger is really fear. I know that this fear theme has been raised a few times. I really do believe that. I believe that when people act heinously, it's often because of fear. And I'll try to remember that when dealing with people like that and be a little bit more open, I think.
Thanks, Mary. Very helpful. Mary Ellen?
Well, Mary, you just said what I was going to say, and I'm really feeling that at the root of all of these horrific evils, as you said, Mary, is truly fear and insecurity. And I'm finding very much that I don't think I identified as a younger person that fear was really an evil, but fear is opposite to love. And our society is just living fearfully, increasingly so, and it gets in the way, and it is really at the root of all of the polarization that's really apparent in the States, but part of our Canadian scene as well. I too love, and I'm overjoyed with the possibility of Kamala. Canadians really stress about this election, and I'm sure all around the world, because we're looking at a Hitler-like fascist as a possible. Hopefully not. And just as an aside, my former mother-in-law went back when my beloved father-in-law passed away to live in Cleveland, and she remarried her high school sweetheart. And it seems to me most of the wealthy Americans that I meet, men, it goes hand in hand with voting Republican. I don't really understand that absolute kind of link, or it seems to be pretty much. At any rate, sure enough, he was Republican, and she told him in the early years of her marriage, at the first Trump election, if you vote for him, this marriage is over. And he started laughing. Oh no, surely you can't be serious. And she was. And for the first time in his life, and ever since, he's voted independent. So, come on, women. Vote and encourage others to do however you can. Anyway, thank you so much, Mary and Rosemary. Really wonderful.
Thanks, Mary Ellen. Others who would like to make a comment? Okay, let's go to Cora Lee Ling in Melbourne, Australia.
Hello. I agree with Cheryl's comment right at the beginning that what happens with your election affects the Pacific and the Asia region and our relationship with China. And these are all very important relationships. So I take heart from one of the things that was said, that peace is all around us and peace is within us. And I just pray that that peace might be manifested. Thank you.
Thank you, Carly, and thank you for your constant and continued solidarity. Okay. Is it Mary O'Connor?
Margie.
I'm sorry, Margie.
Margie O'Connor from London, Ontario. It's really good to be here and to support you in this election. And but I think I'm here as a human being, one of 7 billion human beings on the planet, and all life forms are at stake if we have governments that aren't for the people and for the best of the people. And so today in Canada, we lost a great spokesman for our Indigenous people, Justice Sinclair. And he was behind our whole truth and reconciliation. And the thing he taught me was to walk with a purposeful stride. And I think that's what is coming out of that third question. What might you undertake after the election is to be about my purposeful stride in creating communities of sanity where all peoples are going to be welcomed. And so I really thank you, Rosemary, for your questions and your prompts.
Thank you so much, Margot. And now Mary Ellen, and then we'll, Rosemary, if you'd like to make a closing comment, you're welcome to. You don't need to, but go ahead, Mary Ellen.
Good evening. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Rosemary. This has given me a very different orientation than I thought I was going to have going into tomorrow night. And thank you for opening up your conversation about this to people from other places. I am going to take your words, Rosemary, and there's a lot of wisdom in those. I'll be reflecting on them and starting again a practice of reflecting in the morning. And I just wanted to say one last little sentence of a quote that's helping me in these days. It's a Chinese proverb that says that the birds of worry and care fly above your head. This you cannot change, but that they build nests in your hair, this you can prevent. And I think your suggestions and reflection will help me to prevent building nests in my hair. So thank you.
Great image. Thank you so much, resident poet. Rosemary, do you have any closing comment? You're unmute if you do.
I wisely will button up because there's been so many gems in this, contributed by people. And we believe in the human project, and we believe in each other, and we believe in renewal. That's all.
Thanks, Rosemary. I'm going to close the formal time together, and I'm going to, as soon as I do that, I'm going to leave the Zoom line open if people want to chat for a few minutes more. You're welcome to stay and do that. And again, I want to extend my deep thanks to Rosemary for wisdom, and to Magdalena and Wed for technical help, and to all of you for being here this evening, and for being part of this historic moment. And all I would say is, if you're eligible, please vote if you haven't already. And if you're not eligible, knowing that this will have a ripple effect not only on human beings in the world, but as was pointed out, on creatures in the world, I invite you, I implore you to stay in prayer mode for a bit longer as we see what's coming next. It's not clear that anything will be settled tomorrow, and it may be that not much will change. But what will endure is the goodness of this kind of circle and so many others of which we're a part. So I take heart in that. Let me mention upcoming water programs. Wednesday, the 13th of November, we're going to change it up here with Grace Cow talking about surrogacy. And surrogacy is a big issue going forward. I guarantee you, both in the religious world and in the secular world, that much of the effort to undo reproductive choice at the beginning of life will play out in many questions of death and dying, as we have learned from our Canadian neighbors here in the US and in other countries in the world, for example. But so too is surrogacy, a very complicated question. Italy having just outlawed surrogacy internationally, which I don't know quite how you do that. But Grace Cow is, interestingly enough, a professor of ethics at Claremont School of Theology, Presbyterian layperson. She's written a book called My Body, Their Baby. My Body, Their Baby, a progressive Christian view of surrogacy. And I invite you to join us for that, because I think that's going to be a heck of a conversation, beginning to open up in light of Dobbs and Vatican statements, threats at the beginning and end of life. And these are going to be real things, and surrogacy is one of them. On the Tuesday, the 19th of November, we'll have a water ritual, Peace of the Changing Seasons. That peace theme again, with leaves falling here and blossoms opening with you, Coralie. The world turns and so do we. And so this liturgy will focus on transitions as we move from what has been to what is yet to be. And then if you happen to be in San Diego, or if your friends are going to the American Academy of Religion Society of Biblical Literature meeting, join us for the Feminist Liberation Theologians in-person meeting. And we will be joined there by Rita Nakashima Brock from Volunteers of America, Melanie Jones Quarles, who's the director of the Katie Cannon Center for Women's Leadership, Susan Brooks Thistlethwaite, whom many of you know from our programs, former president of Chicago Theological Seminary, and Janice McRandall from the University of Divinity in Brisbane in Australia. And I will lead that conversation, and it will be focusing really on the implications, global and national, of the U.S. elections. And that will be a wonderful time to hear from people around the world in terms of how they understand this and what we need to do moving forward, those of us who are working on these issues on a regular basis. And then we will reconvene this group again on Monday, the 4th of December at 7:30. And Kate Moody, who's with us tonight, will be presenting, and we'll hear more about that topic later on. So you're welcome to all of these gatherings. All water programs, as you know, are free and open to everyone. Bring your friends. Donations are welcome and needed. We try to socialize the resources so those who can donate do, and I can assure you they do so generously. And those who can't, makes no mind to us. You're simply welcome and a part of the gang, and we want you to be part of things. So we want to make water programs available to everyone. The richness is simply too great to keep to ourselves. So we're grateful to everybody for the ways in which they support our efforts, and we believe, and this is the key, that if we share among us, there's enough. If we share among us, there's enough. And Rosemary Ganley shared tonight, and among us, there's enough. I think I leave, and I know you do, grateful to her and grateful to others, and full as we move into whatever the future will bring. So with that, I will close us formally and simply leave the conversation open in the chat so we can chat with each other at will. Good day, Coralie, and good night to everybody else.